Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I will share with you about my first home purchase and how that ended up leading to a world of travel and a second income. If you are new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have spent the last few years traveling the world. I bought and paid off a house in Spain. I've worked all kinds of side jobs, and I have used all of this to help me move toward financial independence. I believe that the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I hope that you'll jump on this journey with me, no matter where you are starting from. In the last video, I shared about a blog that I read about house sitting that gave me new dreams and how I had aspirations to buy a home while needing to fix my credit and start saving for a down payment. In 2015, I finally did it. I purchased my first home. I was 36 years old and was able to get the home of my dreams. It probably was not the home that most people dream of, but I love a good view, and this house had a beautiful backyard with a pool on a canal and my very own dock. This might sound excessive, but I was able to purchase this home for $175,000. The house was an older Florida home that had recently been remodeled. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I am a bit of an impulse buyer, and I actually made an offer before I had even seen it in person. This is not something that I recommend. Fortunately, I have good impulses that have not failed me in the home buying department just yet. I moved into the house and I really loved it. I also made a bad decision at this point, and I bought a used car that would require me to have a car payment. I already had a car that was paid off, but I began to be nervous about the age and the miles, and I sold it. Ultimately, this didn't have a massive impact on my situation in that moment, but if I could rewind, I would have kept the older car and invested the money instead of making car payments. Car payments of $200 per month total $2,400 per year. If I had invested $2,400 in the stock market and made just 8% interest per year, which is even less than the average, 30 years down the road, you could add another zero and I'd have $24,000. So although it didn't feel like a massive impact at the time, turning $2,400 into $24,000 is actually pretty massive. My house had 3 bedrooms, and I am single, so I decided that to help with the cost of the mortgage, I would get a roommate. Initially, I had been planning to purchase a house for under $150,000, so I made the compromise with myself that I would get a roommate so that I could enjoy the pool and the dock. Since this house cost me $25,000 more than I had planned for. Honestly, I would easily make that decision again. I am an extroverted person that enjoys having roommates, so it was an easy trade-off for me. At this point, Airbnb was on the rise, and although I didn't want a permanent third roommate, I kept thinking about renting out that tiny third bedroom on Airbnb. I struck a deal with my roommate. She was paying $700 of rent at the time, which included all of the utilities. My deal with her was that for every week that someone rented the third bedroom, I would take $25 off of her rent. That way, she was able to save a little for the inconvenience. To my surprise, the tiny little room was a hit. I compared that room to other listings and tried to keep my pricing just under what other places would go for so that I would have more bookings. Having a pool and a dock are also helpful benefits. It turned out that I made about $900 a month on average for that little room on Airbnb. Mind blown. So between the roommate and the rental, I was now bringing in $1,500 in rent, which covered all of the mortgage plus another bill or two, and it took minimal effort on my part. This is the first time that it really started to click for me. I was making money because of an asset that I had. I was making money that I really didn't have to work for. I liked this. I would also like to say that I really enjoyed renting out a room on Airbnb to people while living in the house. I know this isn't for everyone, and I certainly had the random experience or two that were a little less than pleasant, but overall, my guests were wonderful. I met new friends from all over the world. I had people book from Canada, Mexico, Portugal, China, Germany, India, and more. It has been 5 years and I still get emails from my friend Sybil in Germany, who brings me chocolates every time she comes to the US. I also get sweet WhatsApp messages from Mamta in India, who is thoughtful enough to remember me on every US holiday. These kinds of things are priceless to me. Relationships matter. If you love travel but don't necessarily have the means to go to other countries, renting out a room in your house on Airbnb is one of the best ways to bring a travel education right into your home. Getting back to the story, this is the point where I began to put several pieces together. First, I already had a job where I work from home. Second, I had learned about cheap travel through the method of house sitting. And third, I was now seeing that Airbnb worked and beginning to do some research on what it would look like to rent out my whole house. This was a process. It was not overnight. For me, it started with having a conversation with my boss. I needed to make sure that I would be permitted to do my job while traveling. Considering I was working from home, I was starting from a good place, but I had some things to keep in consideration so that I made sure I was able to continue to do my job well and to give my coworkers confidence in supporting me. First, I was asking to travel specifically in Europe, not all over the world. Other than really wanting to be in Europe, I knew that the time zone difference would still allow me to do my job working Eastern Standard Time hours. For me, this was actually perfect. I am a night owl and I don't really enjoy getting up in the morning. So working from Europe would mean that I could sleep in every day, have some time to go out and sightsee if I wanted to, or go on a hike, making the most of the daytime. And then, depending on what country I was in, I would be starting my work sometime between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Second, I committed to staying in each place for approximately 1 month or more so that I could have an established routine, not only for my job, but I also don't want to be a tourist, just going to all of the most popular sites. I really wanted to spend some time understanding each culture, eating the foods, and trying to interact with the community. Third, I was committed to only staying in places where I would have good Wi-Fi or spending the money that I needed to in order to have a good connection. As I presented these solutions, the main thing that I wanted to make clear was that I would not be inconveniencing anyone else, and that all of my coworkers should not really notice a difference at all. They should feel as if I was still working from my home in Florida, unless they went onto social media and saw some cool photo in France or Italy. I had these conversations in the spring of 2016. I wasn't planning to begin travel until early in 2017. This left me with a lot of time to plan, and planning is exactly what I did. I began to think about what changes I would need to make to my house in order to make it an excellent short-term rental. This involved selling some of my furniture on Facebook Marketplace and also buying other furniture through Facebook Marketplace. I purchased an entire queen bedroom set with a bed, nightstands, 2 dressers, and a mirror, all for $200. I added curtains and other simple decor. There were a lot of things to think about. I needed a property manager, a cleaning team, plus a lawn service and a pool service. I learned a lot during that time. I am naturally wired to be able to develop and implement operational procedures, so some of these things may have been more easy for me than for others. That's why I'm developing a course to give people the step-by-step process for vacation rental success. You can look for that soon. I'll leave a link in the description where you can sign up to receive updates about when the course will be available. I had a lot of planning to do for my home and the rental, but I also had a lot of planning to do for my travel. This part was my favorite. Looking back, I think I have more fun planning my travel than I do actually traveling. When you're dreaming about travel, nothing actually goes wrong, but the reality of that may actually be a bit different. I worked diligently to create a good profile on different house sitting websites. I got video recommendations from friends of mine who I had pet sit for and began to apply for different house sits. Unfortunately, I was feeling a bit impatient and it made me feel a little bit out of control. Fears crept in like, what do I do if the person cancels? It was during this time that I began to look at Airbnb rentals throughout Europe. I couldn't believe the deals available with weekly or monthly discounts. Although I knew it might be a little cheaper to do house sitting, I ended up landing on renting Airbnbs for my first big travel experience. I felt like this gave me a little bit more control and it was worth the small amount I would be paying. I actually decided which countries I would go to based on where I found the best accommodation deals. I figured out that once I was in Europe, flights between each country are very inexpensive, often less than flights between states in the US. I knew that I wanted to start in Paris, which I also knew would be a bit more expensive than the other places that I went to. I booked a studio apartment in the heart of Paris, a 2-week stay for a grand total of $434.27. Now that might seem cheap to you, but that comes to over $800 a month, which is the most expensive Airbnb I've ever rented overseas. Let me tell you about just one more rental that I booked to help you understand just how cheap it can be to travel. My last stay on that first big trip to Europe was for 13 nights in Spain. I stayed in a city outside of Valencia. My rental was a 4-story townhouse that had a beautiful terrace where I would work every evening. It could easily sleep 2 or 3 people. I paid a total of $232.78 for my 2 weeks there. Not only that, this was also the first place in Europe that I had rented a car. My car rental for those 13 days? $23.46. That is less than $2 per day. So for 2 weeks in Spain, my accommodation and transportation came to a whopping total of $256.24. Can you think of anywhere in the US where you can live that cheaply, especially having a car and your own private place? Probably not. Although I carried out the planning phase for about 7 months, it went by really quickly, and I had so much fun in that phase. I even led a mission trip to Haiti during that time, but we'll have to talk about mission trips in another video. So now I was ready. I had 7 months of travel booked. I had lots of bookings for my house. I was ready to go. In the next video, I'll share with you about what it was like to actually take off for Europe, hard lessons that I learned, how and what I packed, and more. If you have enjoyed this video, I would be so grateful if you would subscribe, tap the like button, and join me on this road where travel and adventure build financial freedom. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.